devil is not an African thing. Before you say, who is this preacher from Africa that is talking about demons and devils? I will show you there are different kinds of operation. Maybe in Africa what you find is corruption. But when you come here, you will find seduction and pleasure as a weapon of demons. Because at the end of the day, it's not the manifestation, it's who we become. He can use corruption to make Africans godless, but he can use pleasure to make white people, Australians, godless. At the end of the day, the goal is godlessness. So you arrive at a point where you don't know God. So one route is corruption and wickedness. Another route is pleasure. You think, oh, I just love to sleep with what do you call it now? A toy. And then you're wondering, I love my dog. What is wrong if I sleep with it? It's an intelligence. It's an intelligence. At the end of the day, the two persons will end up godless. That's what he wants to achieve. So don't look at all these people. They are everywhere. But they are masqueraded in the way that you can't find them unless God opens your eyes and opens your understanding. Paul said, we wrestle. Paul said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. The question I ask myself is, when did I get into a wrestling ring? I didn't remember I was never invited to fight anywhere. The moment you are in a territory, you are in a warfare zone. The princes that are there to make sure that at the end of the day, God will become far from you. He said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. When I check these words in their origin, the word principality means first in rank. It's the word alke. That means the way Satan fights a people and influences a civilization is very systematic. It's not random. What do the principalities do? They come in first to recruit people. And they recruit people based on the giftings that God has given to them. And so you find some people, they have leadership. And because of this leadership, they are authoritative and bold. The devil harnesses them and taps into their hearts and maybe introduces pride because of their boldness, because of their leadership capacity. Everywhere they go to their head. So suddenly they start feeling important. Over time, they will become a god over themselves. Because when they arrive at the top, they will tell themselves, I don't need anybody to be what I am. I got here by my intelligence and by hard work. And he doesn't know that he has been manipulated. There are other people who are prophetic, full of inspiration. They can sit down and see something and design it and it becomes an invention. That prophetic power makes them easily access the spirit realm. Because of that, the devil can introduce seduction. And the guy, although he's very creative, very inspiring, very inventive, but there is a lust in his soul that he can't deal with. And so every time he sleeps around for fun. And he doesn't know what's going on. The inspiration is constant, but he has become godless. That's the work of principalities. They identify those who have gifting so that they are separated into quadrants. When they are done achieving that, then the powers come. The word power there is the word exousia. It means authorities. And what they do is that they bind people. So somebody can start fornicating and he thinks he's exercising his will. When he wants to stop, he will now discover he is a slave. That what he's doing is stronger than him. It is in stopping that he will now realize that he was not the one doing what he was doing. What he was doing was what was doing him. Somebody may begin by stealing and then he wants to stop. He now discovers it's impossible to steal. Somebody may begin with alcoholism. Until a point comes, he can't even focus on his destiny anymore. And then from alcohol, he goes into hard drugs. And then he becomes an addict. And then you tell him to stop. He tries, he can no longer stop. He will now discover that a power has taken hold of his soul. Now he's not just doing something he likes, he's a slave of that act. And when the power gets you, then spiritual wickedness comes. Spiritual wickedness are the ones that afflict men. After they have used you to achieve what they want, they now afflict you. They leave you with a disease. They leave you with destruction. So you discover that which you began that was full of pleasure, the end of it is death. That's why he said there's a way that seemeth right unto a man. He said the end is destruction. Those are the rulers of darkness. And then you have spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. Oh my God. These ones will make you a waste in your generation. If you escape the third one, the fourth one will afflict you. These are the spirit that controls territories. And so you can have a president who is very smart and inventive, but they put corruption in his soul. You can have a leader who is very smart and inventive, but they put godlessness in him. And although during his reign there was a lot of innovations, but there is no more God in the land. They bring policies that makes it impossible for God to be worshipped, or they sponsor things that makes the next generation forget God. And then you are wondering, when did we decline spiritually? Spirits participated in the civilization. Paul is saying there is a level you grow to that you become part of God's army to exercise his government. If you get to the level where you can fight against those beings, you will need authority. Because when you rise up and say, oh, there must be revival in Australia, if you are not careful, you will lose your job after 2 weeks. And then you are wondering, what happened? I've been the best staff here. What went wrong? Nothing went wrong. You are beginning to contend at the gate. And so they want to distract you. So what they will do is that they will take your job. But for you to not lose your job, in addition to that burden, you must have an authority through prophecy to keep your job. And so if they want to sack you, the person that wants to sack you will be sacked. Oh, you rise up and you say you will fight against this and this and this act of iniquity. Suddenly your ship on the high sea, they tell you pirates attacked it. And you say, my ship has never been attacked with pirates. Okay, if they attacked, I have insurance. You now check, your secretary will tell you, I forgot to insure the ship. You have worked with me for 25 years. How did you forget? A spirit whispered into her ears. When she was supposed to insure it, she slept. These are manipulation in the heavenly places. But if you have power, you will insure that ship yourself that week. Even you won't know why. And then when your secretary say, I forgot, you say, you are lucky I insured it. Because you may just be driving and you hear, go and insure the ship. And you will turn and insure. You won't know why. It's a power. And so everyone who must advance kingdom must have authority. But you see, authority in this kingdom is a function of two things. Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, so that they can have dominion. Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, so they can have dominion. Now, if revival is designed to bring dominion, then revival of necessity must restore God's image and God's likeness in the man. If God's image and God's likeness is not restored in the man, there can be no dominion. And so my goal tonight is to show you the technology of restoring God's image and God's likeness, so that you can walk in the power of the Spirit. Because Australia is dry in the spirit realm. Oh, the realms are dry. Some of you who came here 10 years ago, you were intercessors. You'll discover, even if you pray in the morning, is Father, thank you for your love. Thank you for your mercies. Thank you for providing for us. We love you. And you go away. Prayer has finished. Meanwhile, 5 years ago, you used to kneel down and pray for 2 hours in God's presence. And you are just weeping and crying. Now, those tears, you can't find them. Because your heart has become like a stone. The encounters are no more. And then even those of you who desire God, you discover that your schedules are so tight that you run it until when you get home at night, you are exhausted. And you say you will pray on Saturday, but Saturday, all the fatigue will wake up. And then you will sleep from morning to evening. Even Sunday, you can't stand up. And by Monday, you face your schedule again. After 6 months, you discover you are looking for God and you can't find God. The God that used to speak to you those days, even when you are sleeping, now you can't hear the voice of God anymore. And you don't even have the energy to mount up in the spirit. Because the realms are dry. The voice of God is scarce. The power of the Spirit is weak. You can't even exercise faith to pray for somebody who is sick anymore. Because before you speak, you say, I have medical insurance. And then you are wondering, when are we going to need God? The system is designed to kick God out. And God is about to be kicked out completely. A generation must cry and say, no matter how developed we are, we won't let go of God. We won't let go of God. We won't let go of God. Thank God for medical insurance, but there's divine health. Thank God for planes. Thank God for the bridges that we have. But is it a plane that will take me from time to eternity? The day you depart from this world, there's no aircraft that can carry you. At that time, only the Holy Ghost has the technology to carry you from your natural body to your celestial body. The journey from earth to heaven is not orchestrated by a plane. It's orchestrated by the Holy Ghost. So you must insist that although we have aircrafts now, supersonic aircrafts, but we insist on the Holy Ghost. Because one day we will need this flight. This flight that does not carry men from Sydney to Canberra. This flight that carries men from earth to eternity. This flight that carries men from death to life. We need this particular flight. So thank God for the plane, but we insist on the Holy Ghost. This is why we cannot be deceived to think we can live without God. The way we were designed with a vacuum. Until God fills us, we can never be fulfilled. We can never be fulfilled. So when the outpouring comes to restore dominion. And the way it restores dominion is to bring back the nature of God and the likeness of God. But listen, the first outpouring that took place brought Christ into us. Because that's the custodian of all of God's reality. That's why at the upper room, when they received the Holy Ghost, they were born again. They were filled, and Christ entered into them. In fact, Jesus breathed upon them first and said, receive the Holy Ghost. And he planted God on their inside. So that at the upper room, the outpouring will activate those dimensions. So some of you here are born again. That's Jesus breathing on you and saying, receive life, receive the Holy Ghost. But you need the upper room experience for that life to be animated. Because if that activation does not happen, although you are born again, you can't establish God's kingdom. Because even in your own life, God's kingdom is not there. Jesus does not have his place. The desires of God can't be fulfilled. God can't be worshipped. God can't be known. The righteous character of God can't be expressed. And the authority to bring God's government to a place is not there. Let alone where you walk. You are born again, no argument with it. But you need activations of those dimensions. He breathed on them first so that he will enter into them. But he came upon them so that they can be energized for kingdom advancement. This is why outpourings brings empowerment.